Morning everyone, Tracy from the Wildlife Garden. Thought I'd do a quick tour of the garden. It's getting very lush now. I want you to see what a wildlife garden can look like. If you do let, obviously, wildflowers come into your garden. A lot of people are very anxious about letting wildflowers into their garden, native flowers, but we're in such a crisis now. It's something we all ought to try and do, even if it's a small patch somewhere. But obviously I don't just let it run riot. At the top of the garden possibly I do, and you'll see that, and I call it the wilderness because I don't touch that part. I'm fortunate to have quite a big garden, but I also allow it into my normal herbaceous borders, so you can just have a little look and see if it's something you think you would take on yourselves, and I'll explain how I find it and whether it's difficult to do or not. I mean, I don't find it difficult, but you know, for some it's daunting. But anyway, the point being is that yeah, the insects are in crisis now, and that knock-on effect is having a massive effect on. It's not just climate. Obviously, climate's having an effect too, but the lack of insects is affecting our bird population massively. So let's go and have a little look at what a May garden looks like with some of the wildflowers that are now coming up. Let's go into the garden then. First of all, some of the wildflowers that are coming up just as we step outside. The main one being Herb Robert, the leftover of dandelions, but Herb Robert is popular in my garden. It seeds everywhere. So yeah, here we've got dandelion and Herb Robert mixed in with a fleabane. So an herbaceous plant, but a mixture of wildflower and flowers that you would buy anywhere in a shop. So it's a big mix. Joe Pye weed, that's it's not native, but it's classed as a weed and spreads like a weed. Lovely, beautiful lemon balm, absolutely gorgeous plant, great for drinks, making tea, infusions of tea. Just tastes like it smells when you put it in a drink. It's like lemonade to me. Welsh poppies, the Herb Robert mix here, lovely mix of white Herb Robert and pink in amongst what the herbaceous plants, snapdragons, etc. These have just self-seeded into a pot and I've just left them to do their thing. It's the pot with the clematis in. There's a group of plants. I'm going to a party today and she's asked for cuttings, so I've been busy taking cuttings for her. Sweet Williams are coming up lovely in the pot. So we've got a mix here of oxeye daisy, a native plant, with the hydrangea. It does get visited by insects, but you know, it's. As I started my garden off as a cottage garden, thinking that was the best way of providing nectar sources and plants for caterpillars, etc. And then I started doing all the reading I was doing. I realised we needed more native flowers, and so I've allowed those to encroach as time has gone by. So obviously I've got hostas. They're not a native plant, but they are good for pollinators. Over here, this is the poppies have appeared. All I can think these poppies have come from not last year, but the year before, because last year I had carrots growing in these pots. But the year before, I think I did a wildflower seed mix for a pot. And you know that poppy seeds can lay dormant for a very long time, and as I haven't we couldn't get to this spot. We were storing all the furniture here while the roof was being done. The wildflowers have suddenly popped up that were obviously dormant in the pot. Sweet peas are doing fine. I've got a little tray there of forget-me-nots in this little greenhouse. Sadly I had a relative die recently, and they didn't have a funeral, but they sent out forget-me-not seeds for everyone, and those are mine. They've taken, lovely. So I'll keep those in a pot as a reminder of my auntie. Right, let's go on up the garden. I think the main wildflowers at the moment got clover in this pot. That's self-seeded. I forget what was in there before, but yeah, that came in last year and it's come back. It's very leggy because it's obviously in a pot, not getting the nutrients it probably needs. Yeah, as we go up the garden, you'll see there's a mixture. This is a wildflower. This is a vetch. It's very busy with bees. The bees have really enjoyed it, especially carder bees. They've thrived on it. It's obviously has a very rich nectar source in it. Bees are feeding on it all the time. That's a young. I think that's a little bit a tree bee. Tree bees arrived in our country not that long ago, in the last 10-15 years, I think. They'll nest in bird boxes. They called tree bees because generally they nest in trees. The sun is just getting up. It's still a bit cool though, so not many bees out at the moment, but I can see 1 or 2 insects in the sun sections. We've got a lovely geranium here. This is geranium Fiam, I think it's called, followed by my lovely rose at the back, my David Austin rose, which has got very tall. The rain this year has really suited roses. They're very lush. Aquilegia are out. A good way of seeing if Aquilegia is being visited by bees, because they're very it's difficult to get to the pollen of these, because if you look at the flower, it's got a little hook on it where the pollen, the nectar is stored. So bees tend to bite a little hole in it, because we haven't got many long-tailed bees. I can't see many holes, but if you inspect them, you'll see little holes. It's a sure sign the bees have been robbing the nectar. It's called robbing because obviously they don't pollinate the plant by pinching from the top, but that's the way they get to the nectar that they need. In this bed we've got a Joe Pye plant coming up, mixture of alliums. The main wildflower coming up at the moment is woodavens, great for the small pollinators. Find hoverflies on that a lot. So a lot of woodavens there, geum, geranium. So these are a lot of the cottage type garden plants. But in amongst them you'll see there's the odd buttercup. There's a buttercup here. And obviously foxgloves. They're not the native foxglove. These are foxgloves I've brought in. I used to have native foxgloves, but they seem to have disappeared. So at the moment I haven't got any of those. It's quite windy. Show you the grass area now. It's getting very long now, the grass, where I don't cut it. Let's go down and have a look. There's a mixture of plants coming up in it. See how long it's getting. I can see we've got some ragwort coming up. Here's a little insect enjoying the long grass. A little woodlouse here climbing up. Obviously in the bottoms of this long grass the insects hide. I have taken night videos and you'll see it, the number of insects that are climbing up in amongst long grass at night. That's meadow sweet coming up there. This is another kind of bed straw. I think this is the hedge bed straw coming up. Lots more woodavens and cleavers still coming. Cleavers is a great food source for the hummingbird hawk moth. We get those coming to the country later on in the year. Some of them are even now beginning to stay in the country down south. But yeah, cleavers is their caterpillar food source. So although it can be quite invasive, invasive sounds like the wrong word really. I think weeds that do well are just better at scattering their seeds and things. You can control it, and I control it in my garden, so I let it in places. And we do get hummingbird hawk moths coming into the garden. We've got a lovely display of the rose coming up here, and hopefully the lovely blue clematis will open soon, as they usually open together. A bit more sun. This bed is mainly this yellow loosestrife, that's a native plant, plus the herb Robert again. In there, some of the grasses are growing up in there, and I leave those for the caterpillars. Lot of young starlings about calling. Here we've got mallow. It's been eaten by something. Little holes appearing in it. Grass is so long here. Look, the cat's, you can't see the cat. And that's why I have that bare patch behind me, because that's a great spot for a bird to feed, but also a great spot for a cat to hide and jump out on. My robins just come up on that little bird box up there. Cow's parsley coming up in it, lovely. Plus more ragwort. This is where we had all the cinnabar caterpillars last year, so looking forward to those appearing again. Buttercups. All the honesty has now gone over into seed heads, and so has the jack by the hedge, the hedge garlic. I've got to check them all for caterpillars. I haven't seen many orange tip butterflies this year. I've had about 3 in the garden, so as to whether there'll be any caterpillars, I'll have to see. Here we've got a mixed bed of marjoram and oregano. Again, a great food source for bees. We even got the dreaded mare's tail coming up, but this bed, when we moved here, it just was mare's tail. Mare's tail and bindweed was just all that was in my garden at the time when we first moved in here. In this bed particularly was just mare's tail. Yeah, the hostas coming out, alliums, lots of yellow loosestrife there. The red campion, some more meadow sweet. I'll have to confirm that. I think it's meadow sweet. Just past some Weigela down there. Let's have a little. I'll just retrace my steps. I want to show you these 2 Weigela. I've got 2 pink ones. One's variegated and one's unvariegated. Not native, but a great pollen source. Usually, once the sun's on it, very active with bees. There's a bee there at the moment feeding. Gets very busy with bees. Both of these 2 do. I've got a red one further up, but that one's less common. Little dunnock on the trying to find the odd seed left. They haven't fed the birds yet. Carry on up. We've got what else? So we've got the nettled-leaved bellflower coming up. That's a native. That's the one where we get the bees sleeping in the flowers. Forget-me-nots are still going. This is, forgot the name of it. Got yellow flower. Gone out my head for the moment. Yeah, big depth. If you can see, there's no soil to be seen in the borders at all. And it's what you need for your mice to run about and the frogs to be safe. And even for birds to dive into, should a sparrowhawk make a visit. Birds will drop down into the ground as well as fly into hedges. New geum there to be potted up. Yeah, it's gone crazy up here, but I do love it. It's very woodlandy. I'll show you a notoriously native flower that's coming up that people don't like. Would be going, oh, get that out. It's this here. It only grows there. It's the only spot it grows. It hasn't spread anywhere else in the garden. That's a stinging flower, as we used to call it as kids. It's a thistle, lovely purple flowers on, beloved by the bees. The alder buck is coming out now fully. Flowers will be opening soon. insignificant little flowers, but absolutely loved by bees. Can you see these tiny little things? That's the flowers about to come. The flag iris about to come out. These are just in pots. You can see how many. It's been in here a good many years. It's so pot bound, but it flowers every year. Quite shady this border now, but that's the on like the east side, well, west facing, but it's the east side of the garden. So as the sun comes round, as you can see, it's all on that fence, the east facing fence at the moment. It'll be in full sun, so the plants tend to be a little bit delayed on that side. Let's look back on that. There you go. Very woodlandy. Well, I think that's what my garden is because of the shade. More of a woodland garden with patches of sunlight. Here we go. There's a lovely worker bee. That's an early bumblebee collecting nectar from the geranium. So there's not many worker bees out. By now it's May. You would expect to see lots more worker bees, but they're only just appearing. The queens have been so delayed this year making nests, if they've succeeded at all. Success rate is so low, and the kind of winter we've had, so wet, it's worrying really. And so jobs to do in this garden. Once this finishes flowering, I'll be cutting that back. It's a rambling rose. I'll give that a good hard cut back, ready for it to flower next year. So that's one job I'll have to do. In the rest of the garden, I'm pulling out the odd little bit of bindweed. Oh, that's a juvenile robin. The nest from one of the, we had a nest, remember? Little juvenile robin. I can hear the parent's on the fence. There's the parent. She's saying there's a cat about, be careful, because my cat's there. Cat's out when I'm out. So she's doing the alarm call to say the cat's just down there, don't get down there. And that peepee sound is the chicks replying that they sort of are understanding what she's saying. They're communicating between each other. Round the pond, nothing to do. There's buttercups coming up, and this is it has a pink flower on it. I've forgotten the name of it. It's a native wildflower. That's all good. Might need to support these a little bit should we get any heavy rain, but nothing to do really. The Jerusalem sage is getting massive. This isn't a native. They're loved by pollinators, but does need a bit of control. I've got the name of this. It has a thistly flower on too. A lot of pollinators needed and in the garden, but you obviously need the plants that caterpillars eat too. So a lot of natives, including clover. This is red clover coming up, I think, and buttercups. Oh yeah, we've got red clover and buttercups. You can hear the bees buzzing. There's still hairy-footed flower bees about. That high buzz then was a hairy-footed flower bee female. I'm amazed they're still going. They've been going weeks and weeks. It's incredible here. Here's a worker bee behind me, little worker bee. So yeah, the pond, other than taking off, the only other job I'll do is I do remove the duckweed from the pond, just to let a bit of light in. Bugle, all the juga's doing brilliantly around the pond, but usually I've got bees all over that. It is still a bit early, it's about 9:30. This bed now has become the buttercup and herb Robert bed and forget-me-not bed. It's beautiful. I love it. Look at those colours. There's white, herb Robert, pink, buttercup, yellow, the buttercup, and now the lungwort has all gone over, finished flowering for this year, but gosh, it's sending out such a lot of luscious growth ready for next year. That'll be great. The raspberries at the back, great pollinator, source of pollen for bees and nectar. And as we go into the wilderness, you'll see up here, because it's shady, I think it gets more lush, I'm not sure. It's incredible, really. I do have to control the ivy on the apple tree. I hand pull that off, otherwise it would be completely covering the apple tree. The amount of white currants this year, oh my goodness, gorgeous. Mock orange in the background coming up, covered in buds. I think the rain has really suited plants this year. Not suited us, but it's certainly suited plants. Look at the Gelder rose, absolutely gorgeous. It's a beautiful flower. Those on the outside are sepals, I think they're called. They're not true flowers. The true flowers are in the centre. Incredible. And the dog rose is just starting to come out. And those beautiful, perfect rows, aren't they? So that'll be covered soon. And a lovely little campion underneath the acer. Isn't that colour lovely? And I love the pink underneath the acer. It's a lovely mix. With more wood avens coming out. It's an attractant for, I always see a lot of, I don't know if it's camera will pick them up, green fly on wood avens, which is a food source for sparrows, for chicks. They'll eat a lot of green fly, take those back to the nest. Dandelions have all gone over now, they're just beautiful seed heads now. Even the three-cornered leek has stopped flower. Oh, there it is. It's looking a bit droopy. This is the three-cornered leek. It was a plant I couldn't remember the name of. It's an invasive. Can't plant it in the wild. Don't want it out there, but in your garden it's fine. You can eat it too. Holly has finished flowering and beginning to produce berries. And then I need to tackle the clematis. Let's really go into the woodland then now. This is what your garden will look like if you don't touch it. As I say, I don't touch this bit, do I? And this is what it can get to be like. So the green alkanet is taking over, buttercups taking over, and oh, it's just beautiful. Look at it. This is what a wild garden looks like. The nettles just beginning to flower. I'm amazed that the bramble is beginning to flower. I've never known it flower so early. And the raspberries are only just starting to open. Look at all the buds. We'll have some early blackberries this year. Again, I'll bring it down to the rain, volume of rain we've had. The red campion with what's left of the flowers of the Jack by the hedge, and the green alkanet. And in the back we've got Joe Pye plants starting to come up too. We've got buddleias, the oak tree, more buddleia. It's lovely to see, and it's struggling to still go. I can't believe it's still going. That's what happens when you don't touch ivy and it climbs up a tree. That's my elder tree there, elderberry. What's left of it trying to flower, and obviously the weight of that ivy is going to pull that tree over eventually. Carrying on up, look at all the. This plant comes from nothing. You think, oh yeah, a little bit of Jack by the hedge, but it is incredible. But next year they'll probably hardly see any in the garden. But I need to check it all over for eggs, you'll see tiny little orange eggs or tiny little grey caterpillars on it if you're looking for the orange tip butterfly. So I check them all first before cutting back. Up here though, they just go wild. More here. We've got dock cleavers, bedstraw, hedge bedstraw, lots of grass, mounds of grass, really good for bees to hibernate in over winter. Dogwood, not much of one there, but I have got hawthorn. It is in flower, but it's a small shrub in a pot. Ash trees, damson trees, all sorts coming up in here. And this is what would happen if you didn't control it a little bit, like I do further down the garden. And this is the hedge garlic. You can see how crazy it can get. This is the shadiest part of the garden, and yeah, it's absolutely everywhere. If we look, and it's got a lot of I think it's green fly on it. There's some bramble coming up in the dead hedge now. The ivy's taking over the dead hedge. And you see some new cuttings on the top. I've pollarded the damson tree that grows here because it would get so big. I do need to control that a little bit, and I do control the ash trees a little bit that grow here. And getting up this, the path's virtually disappeared. It's mainly the green alkanet that's taken over up here. Plus there's a dog rose there. Yeah. Let's see how crazy it gets. And the dead hedge at the back started. Even an alkanet, Granny's bonnet coming up there. Not an alkanet, an aquilegia, little pink one. Right, so that's the tour of the garden. That's what happens when you don't cut back. You've got an idea here what can happen. But this part of the garden is for that reason. Allow the wildlife to come in. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed the tour. I'll say I've got not much to do in the garden except to enjoy it and count the bees and the butterflies. So thank you all for watching. I hope you have a lovely day. The weather's fantastic, and just a quick thank you on all the new subscribers. I've had a lot of new subscribers lately, and I can't believe that they're coming from different parts of the world. It's a bit crazy to come to my little garden in the middle of Sandwell. But yeah, thanks for watching. Enjoy your gardens. Take care everyone. Bye for now.